You're he. Check, check. You're he. Check, check. You're he. Back up a bit. You're he. You're he. Right. I got a one from day one. Salute, thank you. Mm. Toby said crystal clear to her. I'm aware some people may be on different devices. You may get different sounds, right? Forgive me. We're working on it, right? We're working on it. But yes, happy Mound-day. Happy Moon Day. Happy Mond-day. Happy Mond-day. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, where you at? How we doing? Uncle Rick in the building. How we doing? Day one S in the building. Soul in the building. CC in the building. Much love to you folks. Nice and early. Nice and early. What a start to the weekend. I mean the week, brother. What a start to the week. Monday. Moon day, huh? I've had a hectic one. Hectic, hectic, hectic. But yeah, here we are, man. Here we are. We are. We look forward to the weekend, right? So you have to look forward to the Mondays also. I kind of did the Monday. Come to find out, it's really the moon day, right? The moon day. Everything seems to connect back to the moon. Very strange. But yeah, I've been hearing a lot of this World War stuff that's been going on. Is it World War? Bombs getting dropped. I don't know. People getting stuck in Dubai. Dubai. It's crazy right now. Crazy. You don't want to be flying right now. You want to be grounded. You don't want to be flying. Wait. No siree. I mean, maybe I should be talking about that to a degree. I don't want to pay it no mind. I really don't want to pay it no mind. I don't know whether it's a distraction or it's a real thing going on, but whenever there's things leading up to moon features, you always get some type of war, right? It's almost like it's a ritual. Apparently, we're approaching a blood moon, red moon, right? So, hence the bombings, right? I don't know. It could be a distraction. Could be a distraction. If they can put it on TV, they can fake anything, right? If they can put that on TV, they can fake anything. Yeah, you never know. You never know. Stay away from that stuff. I'll stay away. Mm-mm. So what is new? Anyway, before we get started, for entertainment purpose only. For entertainment purpose only. Huh? Anything new from the flat earth community? Anything new from the flat earth community? No? Anything new from the globe community? Anything new from the Globies? No. Mm. Hey, I'm quite surprised when what's his name? Eric Dubai brought that to my attention how more flat earthers seem to be leaving flat earth and going back to the globe. I had no idea that was a thing. Is that really a thing? Hmm? Since when? Since when? When did this take place? Hmm? What is going on? What is really going on with this flat earth movement? They're jumping ship. They're turning into globies right now. Hmm? The last one seems to be who? I think Bro Sanchez. Bro Sanchez. I wonder if he's gonna jump back. You know. Hmm. I don't know. Only for shills. Yeah, it seems like that right now, isn't it? It seems like that. Everyone's just jumping ship. They can't agree on one model. That's a bit sketchy. Anyway, where was I? Anything new from the rising Earth sector? Anything new from the rising Earth sector? No. Anything new from the Mandela boys? Mandela, Della. Anything new from the holographic society? Holographic society? No. Who else is there? Who else is there? Ah, the cherry on top. Anything new from the hell realm? Hmm? Anything new from hell realm? No? Okay. Nothing new. Why is there never nothing new? I like new stuffs. We all like new stuffs, right? It's not just me. It's not just me. Hmm. Interesting. But yeah, the more I look, the more I find. Hmm? The class of 25, 26 seems to be promising. Right? They're contributing. AJ, how you doing? Welcome, welcome, welcome. But yeah, it's funny, right? How everything seems to lead back to the moon. Have you ever noticed that? Hmm? Everything seems to lead back to the moon. Wow. Interference. Check, check. Mic check. You're he, 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 you're he. Cool. Got a one. Thank you. Thank you. Kyle in the building. How we doing? Yeah, man. We're there. We're here just chilling right now on the moon day. Mm-hmm. The Monday. The Mond day. Mm-hmm. Going through my old. Okay. You're he, you're he, you're he, you're he. Lovely day in the UK, I must say. Lovely day in the UK. But yes, like I was saying, have you noticed how everything leads back to the moon? Hmm? Everything seems to lead back to the moon this time around. the lens this time around. It's not what they say, it's what they show you, right? It's really what they show you. I'm yet to see them, blow a budget in Hollywood on a flat earth production, right? Blow a budget on a flat earth production. I ain't seen it yet. I ain't seen it. Uh Hollow Earth, yeah. So many movies when it comes to Hollow Earth and blowing those budgets. Mhm. Moon movies, yeah, blowing those budgets. Crazy. And it's all for a reason. All for a reason. They're not just gonna waste their time and show you these things, right? It's for a reason. Don't you get it? Hmm? Blood Moon tomorrow. Yep, definite. There you go. Iron Sky. It's all in the movies, Tay Tay. Tay, it's all in the movies. It's in the music, it's in the art, it's in the entertainment. They're showing you the construct. They're telling you the construct, right? Cool. I can probably show you better than I can tell you, right? How everything is to do with the moon. When I mean everything, yeah, I mean everything. All right. So without further ado, hit that like button one time for your boy, 420, and lay low.
So in this video, we're going to demonstrate the idea of the Trinity and show how it's encoded in a lot of different films, movies, and games, but also to show what's also being encoded in the religious idea of it. As far as I know, it's not in any religious text, but this is not to attack any religion or any, just to show what may this encoding of.
Hold on. Messing up. Check, check. Check, check, check. Testing. Year he, year he. That shit happens. Let me see. What happens if I do it this way? No, not that. Our image. Our video. No, not working that way. What's no, not extra camera. No, I just try it this way. Hopefully it works. Oh, okay. Um, anything work? Nah, no sound. Damn. Give me a sec. Do it this way. Check, check. You're he, you're he. You're he, you're he. It's a bit slow. Hey, we got Provo in the building. He fucking banned me. He fucking banned me. Fucking loser Provo banned me. He banned me. Hey. Salute, salute.
This is just to show what may also be being shown by this encoding of the idea of the Trinity. And this doesn't mean that one or the other is wrong. They both actually could be right, but I just want you to see it in this perspective.
Yeah, facts. Send in the blockers. Send in the blockers. Send in the blockers. He banned me.
So let's start off with the film, the Infinity Saga or the Avengers films. All of this will come together, but we'll break it down in just a few different films so you can kind of see. So in the last Avengers films, there was two films, the Infinity Saga. The final act or the final battle was between Thanos, and it started off with the three main Avengers: Thor, Captain America, and Iron Man, a trinity, right? But in the first film, we see all of these members fight Thanos by themselves, and they all get beat down individually, so they're unable to stop him by themselves. But you should consider that these characters all represent something in the sky. They're all personifications of the sky. So we all know that Thanos and Captain America both have, Thor and Captain America both have angel ears on their costumes because it's letting you know that they're angels or angels of the sun. That's why Captain America has a star in his shirt, star in his chest, star in his shield, excuse me. This is why Thor, his story is pretty obvious, retelling of like a fallen angel type story. And then we have Anthony Stark, or a tiny star. So you have three stars versus Thanos, who's a character who's personifying the moon. He's also known as the Mad Titan, which is a giant moon. But in his case, he's playing not just a full moon, he's playing a super moon, a Titan moon. And whenever you see these kind of characters in films who you can identify as a super moon or a Titan moon, the first person you're going to see them challenge usually is a full moon, right? And we see that Thanos did this, where the first character that we see him fight is the Hawk, and it takes like a minute for him to beat the Hawk. And Hawk is a character who is moon based. This is why throughout the whole series, he wasn't able to transform because the supermoon took the shine. And this happens with a lot of other characters who are moon based, a part of the Avengers. And if you notice, most of the characters who were snapped away were moon characters, and most of the characters who lived were sun characters. And if they did live, they changed characteristics. Like Black Widow's hair became blonde. This is not by coincidence, these are direct reasons. And I can demonstrate that in a separate video. But we have the three stars versus the supermoon. And we see that's how the fight starts. In the first film, we see that Thanos sacrifices his daughter, a soul for a soul.
So it's a it's a how would you call it? A triad, right? How would you call it? A trinity, right? A triad, a trinity. Three versus the big star, right? Three versus the big star. And you do see that in a lot of things, right? You do see that.
So,
Rando chat room, how you doing? Rasta in the building, Lani in the building. Much love to you folks, man. Peace.
and then we see that Tony Stark, or
Max 7, good to see you.
a tiny star, is able to live because Doctor Strange gave a tiny star the time stone for Anthony Stark. So this film is definitely encoding the sky as characters. And then even for the trailer, it says, "I have an idea." There was an idea. That's the first opening line for any footage we've ever seen of these films. It says there was an idea, and what it is a giant moon and a small star being shown. Now, what you'll see in these type of films is whenever there's a three stars versus a moon, you'll see that one of the stars will have an unexpected bright shine to it. It'll shine bright unexpectedly. We see this in Captain America, where he's now able to use Thor's hammer, right? But then we also see sacrifice on Iron Man's part, and then we see like an out of shape Thor, right? So it's like Thor was blessed with all the gifts in the other films, right? Naturally blessed, but then he has challenges in this one, right? And then we see Iron Man, who uh, is willing to sacrifice himself, but he's usually the selfish character. And then we see Captain America, who can sacrifice himself. It's just no opportunity for him to sacrifice himself was presented. But then he becomes selfish at the end by saying, "Okay, I'm going to give up my superhero days," and he becomes an old man. But consider what these characters represent. You know, Thanos, you see him play with dust a lot, right? Pointing to that he's the moon. He's all about balance. You know, the moon is a something that's about balance. His he has an order called the Black Order, and one of the characters who was held from the film is called Supergiant. And I think that was done because it would have given it away that this character is actually, well, these characters are actually represented in the sky. Now, I know this may seem far fetched, but I'll show you this exact scenario and so many other movies and films throughout this video. But before we move on, I just wanted to focus on the idea of when the Avengers were fighting Ultron. Ultron has the word Ron in it, which points back to moon. This is why he was talking about a giant rock in the sky, right? Anytime you hear an asteroid story or anything giant in the sky, it's a play or a retelling of the story of a supermoon, right? And
So Ultron was representing the moon. Okay, I can see that. I can see that. You know, he represents the stage of merging with the machine, right? AI. Some people would say the moon is connected to AI and all of that stuff. The how would you call it? Recycle system and all of that stuff. Oh yeah, okay.
right? And it's just twisted up a little bit, but it encodes the supermoon. So you have a giant rock in the sky. He talks about the dinosaurs. He builds a rock in the sky. That was the idea of Ultron. So he's the same kind of idea as the moon. And this is why the supermoon at the end of the film of Age of Ultron says, "I'll do it myself." These characters somehow don't know each other, but they both have the same mission, right? And then we look at the one of the Transformers films.
Is that where that phrase comes from? I do it myself. I've heard it in a lot of little skits. I'll do it myself.
Called Dark Side of the Moon. We have a character called Sentinel Prime, right? And Sentinel is usually a word that's always used with giants. Think about Sentinels from the X-Men, Sentinels from the Matrix.
Mm.
But this character of Sentinel Prime is found in the beginning of the film to be alive on the dark side of the moon, right? So we have these giants on the dark side of the moon. And what's interesting with him is he is found, I believe, in the Ark, right? And the Ark is also in the biblical.
Yeah, hold on. Even the Transformers, Dark Side of the Moon. I told you, all of these movies that they put out in Hollywood is moon based or hollow earth based. Right? I'm yet to see a flat out flat earth movie. Right? I'm yet to see one. Why is that? Everything's moon and hollow earth. Yeah. Don't believe me, check it out.
Biblical story associated with a reset. Whenever you have these kind of supermoon trinity stories, there's probably a reset involved with the story, right? But anyway, he look at his weapon. He has the same weapon as Thanos, right? And then he ends up in a trinity fight with uh, Megatron, which is a word that means moon. This is why Megatron has a hole in his head, or part of his face is missing half the movie. You'll
Damn, Megatron's linked to the moon. That's why he's got half of his head missing. Okay. Ah, the head wound again. Okay. The brain. We went over the brain yesterday, right? That was cold. I don't think no one showed you the realm how I showed you the realm yesterday, right? You ain't gonna get it like that. We don't leave no stone unturned, right? Plain sight.
see it encoded in a lot of characters who represent the moon. They'll either get shot in the back of the head, and this goes along with real life characters as well, or they'll be have a chunk of their head missing in the film. The same kind of idea was shown in the Terminator, one of the recent Terminator films, where one of the Terminators could turn between two different forms, and one was sun-like. He always had a yellow shirt on, and the other was moon-like. And what's funny is, Megatron is a character who represents a moon. In the first film, he's a Titan versus three little Transformers, and one of the Transformers he almost breaks in half. Well, he does break in half, named Jazz, and that kind of scene was almost done scene for scene where Thanos picked up Iron Man, was trying to pull him in half.
Damn. Hold on a second. That's right. That's everywhere. That's splitting the moon, right? Hold on. What? That's like splitting the moon again. That's like Allah splitting the moon. Voila. That's crazy. It's in the movies, right? It's in the movies. Hey, Wim, shouts out to you, man. You're the reason why we're here, man. We can't ever forget that.
Film, he's a Titan versus three little Transformers, and one of the Transformers he almost breaks in half. Well, he does break in half, named Jazz, and
Okay, so Harry breaks the robot in half called Jazz. Okay.
that kind of scene was almost done scene for scene.
And then you got Juggernaut splitting Deadpool, right? Look, he's splitting Deadpool in half.
Thanos picked up Iron Man, was trying to pull him in half at one.
And then Thanos is trying to rip Iron Man apart. What is going on? Yo, no, that's cold. I like that connection there. That's cold. That's cold. I like that. Literally, look, ripping them apart. Hey, Mayhem, salute to you, man. Hurry up and get your butt in here, G. Hurry up and get in here.
In half. Well, he does break in half, named Jazz, and that kind of scene was almost done scene for scene, where Thanos picked up Iron Man, was trying to pull him in half at one point. And it's not because these films are all inspired or copying each other. It's because they're telling the same stories. And then you can see here the Tennessee Titans symbol is pretty obvious. You know, you see the Titans, it's associated with giants or supermoon, right? And anytime you hear a story about Titans, it's always going to have the moon involved. Think about the story.
The Titanic. I think I did say that about a year or something ago. You know, I think it's based on the moon, but to see someone else actually say it as well, that's breathtaking. I like that. Brilliant. Brilliant.
Story of Titanic, both the film and the real life event. A supermoon is responsible for both of the stories. And then Rose is a character who represents the moon. But this Tennessee Titan symbol has the symbol of Janus in it as well. And I wondered, like, you know,
Janice. Uh-oh. Janice Pool. Uh-oh. Uh-oh. I said it once and I said it before. Everything leads back to the moon. And as Paul would say, everything leads back to Janice. Could it be one and the same? Salutes to the Black Sheep researcher, Paul.
a lot of people who are religious know they're driving around, if they're driving Teslas, with a car that has a god on there or a deity in Janus. But before we move on, let's just look at the idea of the pyramids, right? So in the pyramids of Giza, we see that it has the Orion's belt, right? So it has three stars aligned. And I think that these pyramids might be telling these stories because they're some of the most popular stories that are retold or encoded in characters. So, for example, we have the pyramids here, right? And you can see there's one that has a supermoon or a bigger pyramid with three little small pyramids. So it's telling that story of the supermoon versus the three little stars. And sometimes it'll be vice versa, where it'll be a giant star or the sun versus three moons. But then we also see the same thing with this other one in the center that has a giant pyramid, right, which is a play on the supermoon, and right in front of it is the Sphinx, which is a play on Leo the lion. So this is a story about the small lion versus the giant moon, and you see this in a lot of other films. I did a video on it a little while ago, but in the Matrix, for example, the woman, the Oracle, is cook. She eats cookies a lot, letting you know she's the moon, right? And she's a character who is associated with the dream world, the Matrix, right? It's being able to.
Oh yes, the Oracle, the mother. How did I fucking put that together? Yeah, she's representing the moon, but he tied it in with the cookie. Okay.
See it all. And then you have the architect, right, who wants order, and he's like Leo the lion. He has the full beard, and it's letting you know that characteristics between both of them. And this other pyramid over here, I haven't quite figured out.
What was that? Like Cookie and Lucius. Lucius. like Lucius, Lucifer, Leon, Lion, Leon, right? The light, Leon, Leon, lens, Lion, right? Yeah, okay.
characteristics between both of them. And this other pyramid over here, I haven't quite figured out yet what story that's telling, but it seems like these pyramids are telling that's this story of the three stars versus the Titan, and then you see the
Hold on, what
story
was that?
of the three
Elon, Leon, Lon, Gothic, Moon's wife. Okay, yeah. Yeah, she got black and white.
stars versus the Titan, and then you see the Leo the Lion versus the Supermoon, or the Giant or the Titan. And this one I'll figure it out at some point. But even the real life so-called stories that we have of the astronauts out at some point.
Is Elon Musk going to share they will utilize it 50%? What? Tamagotchi as XAEA/XII. What the hell is that? What does that mean? XXAE. What does this mean down here? What's this code for right there? Anybody know this code? No one of you folks must know. Help me out. Help me out. What does that mean? But the Tamagotchi part, what's he talking about the Tamagotchi? I remember the Tamagotchi. Anybody remember the Tamagotchi? Mm? That was like the little handset. You can play with it. You can raise something, correct? To do with the egg. Yeah, the little game, the egg.
But even the real life so-called stories that we have of the astronauts going to the moon, right? It always encode a trinity of astronauts, right? Three astronauts going to the moon. Even the
Oh, hold on.
astronaut
Yeah, the three astronauts going to the moon. Also, I forgot about that. Yes, look at that. Three of them on the lens, right? Mm-hmm. We're on to them, ladies and gentlemen. We know what's going on here. We know what's going on, don't we? Mhm. Always wanted one of them. Hey, Provo, I had about 10, 20 of them at one stage. Yeah, and I didn't buy one of them. I didn't buy any of them. Right? I just used to take them. Yeah, so many. Tamagotchi, that was the era, man. That was my era. Never forget that era. hmm I bet those things go for a pretty penny now. If you got the old ones and they still work, they might go for a pretty penny.
astronauts, right? Three astronauts going to the moon. Even the trajectory of the ship, you see, you can see the space dust encodes a trinity, right? Because it's letting you know. So these three men were able to make a step, one small step for NASA, and then one giant step for mankind. I think it's the statement, but nonetheless,
If anybody wants that link and they wanna, contribute, vibe with me up here, let me know. I'll drop that link down there. Lay low.
you can see, and then even see in their interviews is the trinity of them, and even their splashdown ship has the same kind of idea going on, where you have a pyramid and then three little balls on top.
There you go. I said it. The lens, the capsule. I said the capsule. They're showing you. Look at that. But he tied in the three balls to that. Oh my goodness. Give him a round of applause. Give him a round of applause. Yeah, round of applause. Brilliant. Brilliant. I like it. hmm Hidden in plain sight. All these back to the moon. All these back to the lens. Look at that. The rituals, right? It's what they do, it's rituals they're doing. It's not about the rocket going up. It's about it coming down and landing on the waters, right? The waters. Yeah, the hexagonal balls. Yeah, most definite. It's also kind of symbolic for the Trinity. Yep, Trinity, three in one, most definite. The golden era.
top. So you can see that all of these are encoding or retelling the story of the sky. Uh, just three stars and a supermoon. And why would this be? Is because there's really no original stories. Everything that you're being told, even including history, is a copying off of what people have told as stories based off of the sky. So look at this recent film, Moonfall. You can see it's a giant moon coming down.
Yeah,
So look at
hold
this
on, hold on.
recent
Yeah, the three wise men as well, right? What about the three wise men? How can we forget the three wise men? Right, the three wise men. Yeah, the three wise men. What else? There's another one. Hold
people
on.
have told as stories based off of the sky. So look at this recent film,
This one right here. I remember I used to come across this picture. I wasn't too sure what was going on, right? But I knew it was something to do with the construct. But yeah, later on down the line, when I come to find out that, the cup is another symbol for the moon, I realized this is the moon in the middle. But come to find out the three as well, right? The three, delta.
Moonfall. You can see it's a giant moon coming down and crashing to Earth. They use that idea of fear.
Yeah, that right there. The eye itself, right? Moonfall, look, three of them floating about. The Trinity again. That's that Trinity. It all leads back to the moon. I told you there's so many moon movies, right? So many Hollow Earth movies, but I'm yet to see a flat Earth blockbuster movie, right? I'm yet to see a flat Earth blockbuster movie. And then flat earthers will say, because they wouldn't dare put the truth out there like that. They wouldn't dare do a flat earth movie and put, get out of there. Yeah, right.
Because they're leveraging the idea of a supermoon. I wouldn't even be surprised if this film came out around a supermoon, a real life supermoon. But you see that it has the idea of the moon falling, right, or a giant rock or asteroid coming out of the sky, because all these stories encode the moon. Just even the story of David and Goliath, a small guy throws a rock at a giant, a rock. The rock is always encoding the moon, and every story involving titans or giants.
Damn. The Three Musketeers. That's a good one. Yeah, 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 yeah. The Three Musketeers. Most definite. Look at that. Simple but effective. Sun, moon, earth. Simple but effective. I like that. Another Trinity right there. Yeah, that's it.
Will always be able to be pointed back to a story being told about
Art Squire in the building. Well gone, sis. Much love. Big up to you. Good to see you.
the moon.
D'Angelo, player, what's going on? AJ in the building. Salutes to everyone, man. Grand old chat room. Hey, this is quite cool, right? Because like I was saying, everything leads back to the moon. Everything leads back to the moon. All of these movies, all of these cartoons, all of these symbols, it's nothing but moon worship. Everything leads back to the moon. I don't know why. Don't ask me, but well, I think I do know why, But it's wild, right? We've been saying this for the past, 3 years or so, and it's like we keep showing and showing. Mm.
Always be able to be pointed back to a story being told about the moon. But in this film, Moonfall, at the beginning of the film, I think three astronauts
Yo,
end on the
hold on,
moon.
look. They're showing you the diamond. Huh? The Mond-day. I told you it's Mond-day, the diamond. Hmm? Diamond. Where we see the diamond again? Boom. Hmm? Salute to J Dreamers for this beauty. Woo! Beauty. Put a diamond in the rough. Cold. Look at that. It's about the diamond. The diamond. The moon. Look at that. Cold. Diamond, right? The lens. The lens.
But in this film, Moonfall, at the beginning of the film, I think 3 astronauts are in space, and then there's some type of AI or something like that on the film. I think 3 astronauts are in space, and then there's some type of AI or something like that on the moon that attacks and kills them. But it's a trinity of astronauts. So you see the supermoon beats that trinity, and then the final act of this film, Holly Berry and the other actors, they end up going up. So it's still a trinity versus the moon. You always will see this. Even depictions of what people like colonies on the moon, you're going to see like 3 towers.
Yeah. 3 guys and a little lady, right? Remember that shit? 3 guys and a lady, or something along something along the lines like that, right? Yeah. The Three Amigos. Yeah. What's the other one? The Three Stooges. Yeah, we can keep going, right? It's wild.
On the moon, or 3 cities on the moon, because it's telling the same story. And this is a good picture to hold on in your mind. It'll help just give you a sense of what's being shown throughout the video. But even look at this. Look at Congress or the Senate. Look at the seating arrangement. That's a crescent moon, right? Or half of a moon.
Look at that. We got the menorah again. That's the menorah. Nice. I like it. He's back to the moon. Told you it's all moon worship.
With 3 stars in the center. It's not by coincidence. That's exactly what's being shown. We have 3 separate branches of government. That also plays on the same idea. And when you have a trinity without the challenge of the moon, the trinity is battling within each other, within itself. That's a common theme you should always remember. If there's no challenge for the trinity, then it's going to battle itself, right? And it makes it stronger. So for when the full moon comes, then, or the super moon, they're able to challenge it. And just think about like a Air Force One escorts, same idea, forming the trinity. And these
Yeah, okay. Yes. Okay. Yes.
Air Force One escorts, same idea, forming the trinity. And these pictures I'm just showing you to kind of put it in your mind of what you're really seeing. If you can imagine that these characters are actually stars being personified as human beings or actors to tell you a story, right? So you have the Matrix, right? And the Matrix is a dream world. So it's a moon-based reality, completely different than how we live, or it's a sun-based, pretty much sun-based world, right? In this reality, this is why all the heroes are dressed in full black, right?
Yeah, the Matrix as well. Look at that. What's it? Morpheus, Neo, and Neo. I forgot her name now. Trinity. Is that her name? Trinity. It is Trinity, right? Whoa, hold on. Her name's Trinity. I just realized that, and they make the Trinity, right? That's wild. Yeah.
Right? They look like the villains in the real world, and then the agents are all with black suits but white shirts on. And you see that when they actually fight the vampire crew, a lot of them have white on as well, because it's an inversion of the idea. But you have the Trinity here, and the final boss of the film is all the robots coming together to form.
Look at that. They look like they're showing me the eye again. Look at that. How they form like the lens, the wrist, the optic. Look at that. Staring into the eye. Look at that. He must be the one to stare into the eye. That's crazy. It's all I told you, it's all in the movies and shit. You gotta know what you're looking at. No pun intended. Because it's just looking at you. Look. It all leads back to the eye. This ain't no flat earth stuff. This is me, you, and I. Micro, macro, the eye, the body, the human, the eye. Hollow eye leads back to what? Hollow moon.
A supermoon kind of thing, or the eye in the sky. And this always happens in reset films, as I showed in other videos. Unicron in the sky, Eye of Sauron, Corona in the sky. These are all the same ideas, just telling you that when there's a supermoon coming, there's going to be a reset. And this film even shows the inversion of that idea, where you have Neo, who is the sun-based character, versus three moon-based characters, and then they even invert it where when he can see the code of the Matrix, they're the sun-based characters, and he's the moon-based character, or vice versa. But is it Trinity between sun versus moon that's being shown?
The Trinity right there, I can see it clear as day. Yeah.
But is it Trinity between sun versus moon that's being shown? And then in the later films, you have Neo goes missing or something like that. He gets kidnapped, and they go to this guy named Seraph, which is a play on the Seraph myth. So he's kind of like an angel type character, right? And he helps guide them to the train man. And the train man, not by coincidence, is a giant compared to them. He's way taller than them. So they have to chase the train man down and end up tracing them to hell. But these are telling you the stories of three stars versus the moon now, or chasing the moon. And there's a scene in one of the later Matrix films where they approach this staircase, and the staircase is shaped as a crescent of a moon, and the three stars are walking in the crescent of the moon. And that's where a big fight scene happens, but it's not by coincidence. It's encoded in that. And if you even look at the ceiling of this building, you can see the sun pointing down. And if you even look at
Let me see this. I haven't even looked at this part here properly. But hold on again. Hold on a second. What is going on here? What's in the center? That looks like a type of hex or a diamond again. What's on this picture at the back? Can't really make it out. Hold on. Almost looks like a type of device on the lens that I've seen that goes around the eye. The crescent stairs, the horn stairs, right, representing the moon again. Look at that, plain sight. Then we've got the pupil up top, right? The opening. Got the opening right there. Looking in. Right, this will be the lens. Look through the pupil, you see the lens, right? The crescent. And down here with the hex on the floor, these patterns, I don't know, that might be representing hell. Sheol down here in the underworld. Going through sin.
look at the ceiling of this building, you can see the sun pointing down, or the ceiling shaped as the sun. Another concept or film that has this idea is the Blade Trinity series. You know, Blade is usually a character who works alone, but for the final act, the big one came, Dracula, who's in this case kind of encoding the supermoon, but it's an inversion of the idea, right? Because Dracula is now a daywalker, and you can see that idea, right?
Oh,
Because
look.
Dracula is
You got Drake, Nicki, and Wayne, you know, and the Birdman. Oh, yeah. Okay. Yeah, they always come in threes, don't they? More time. I think even G Unit started out in three. Yeah, they started out in threes. I think was even the Beastie Boys three, or were they more? Yeah, it's a threes. Okay. With Migos, that's even three, right?
is now a daywalker, and you can see that he has the Hellions with him who are, you know, of the moon type ideas. They're with him to help hunt Dracula. And this movie is interesting because it has a lot of hidden symbolism or constellations. There's a scene where Blade is talking to Dracula over top of a building about hunters, and it shows constellation Zoe and or Zoe, and that's the story of like Diana the Huntress. You also see that Zoe.
Yeah, hold on,
There's a lot of
hold on.
hidden.
Yeah, I see something back here. That's like the alchemist, the alchemy symbol. for the eye. Yeah, I see all that there. That looks like the lens dislocated. I think I showed you before. The zonal fiber is connecting it on one side, but it's not on this side. Could be symbolizing a dislocated lens. Hmm. And you got these crosses down here. What's this? This is the Maltese, is it? Hmm.
Symbolism or constellations. There's a scene where Blade is talking to Dracula over top of a building about hunters, and it shows constellation Zoe and or Zoe, and that's the story of like Diana the Huntress. You also see that same idea when the Avengers are able to take down or give the final blow to.
Hold on. Let me see if I can get that actually, because I want to actually see that. 1 second. Give me a sec. Not do Um, okay, go ahead. Let's go back to that real quick.
Ideas. They're with him to help hunt Dracula, and this movie is interesting because it has a lot of hidden.
Right, let's zoom in over here. You can see over here, right, how the zonal fibers are connecting on one side. Right, it's got it connecting like it's on one side over here. Right, it reminds me of like this. Right, see that? The dislocated lens, right? That's how we get our eclipse. Wild.
Symbolism or constellations. There's a scene where Blade is talking to Dracula over top of a building about hunters, and it shows constellation Zoe and or Zoe, and that's the story of like Diana the Huntress. You also see that same idea when the Avengers are able to take down or give the final blow to Ultron. You have Vision and Thor and Iron Man shoot them, but it forms that constellation. And the same thing with the Predator. The Predator has that beam. There's a lot of films I can show you that in, but for this one, let's just focus on uh, the Trinity idea. And in this film, they put Triple H in there as one of a wrestler who's like a giant wrestler, and it's not by coincidence because they're letting you know that it's always in code stories of the giants. Whenever you see a Trinity, the final boss may not be a giant, but somewhere in the film for sure. And sometimes amongst the heroes, one of them might be a giant. You see this in fighting games or the beat 'em up games where video games where there's a trinity of characters across the screen, and one of them will usually be a titan or a giant compared to the other, or a tank, as they call. In the recent Spider-Man films, you see there's a trinity of Spider-Mans for no reason, but there are, and
The spider. Yes, 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 yes. The spider plays a part in the construct as well. It's almost like how would you call it? The effects of, something trying to penetrate the barrier. How it would deflect. It creates like a spider. That's all in the movies as well, especially in the Michael Jackson stuff. The spider. right? And Nancy the spider, may I add, in the web, the World Wide Web.
Before there's a Trinity, there's just regular Spider-Man, and he meets the villains, and he's able to talk to them for a while. And we have Sandman, who's in his normal form. But once the Trinity forms, Sandman becomes a giant, and that's not by coincidence. It's all encoding the sky. The same thing happens in the original Spider-Man
Hey, yes, I see what's going on here. The Trinity of them, and then the Sandman, Mr. Sandman, in me a dream, blah blah blah. You know how it goes, right? You know how it goes. But yeah, it all leads back to the moon. Hmm? It all leads back to the eye. It all leads back to the lens, aka the moon, aka what? The moon. Wild.
trilogy, where he has three villains he has to fight to make money, right? For the company to make money, they put three villains in there, but he has three villains he has to fight, and the Goblin, Sandman, and Venom. And the final act, when the trinity of villains are out there, Sandman is a giant now, and that's not by coincidence. It's because they're telling the story of the sky through characters. And sometimes the enemy may be invisible, right? It may be an invisible enemy. Just think about the idea of the moon. The moon it has different phases. It may not be visible. It may be a crescent. It may be a half. But in the Captain America film,
Hydra, invisible enemy.
we have the trinity of helicarriers, right? And the enemy is not visible, so the turmoil is between themselves. And this is a common way to tell the same story. They just shuffle it up.
Damn.
And this is
Yeah, they're warring against themselves because their enemy is nowhere to be seen. Look at that. And that's what we're doing. Look what they're doing. The oppressor is nowhere to be seen. But yeah, he's in the mix somewhere, guaranteed. But it's got them warring against each other. Right? When if they joined forces, they would be able to take down the oppressor. Right?
this is a common way to tell the same story. They just
Free's the company, right? Free's company. Hey, everything leads back to the free.
shuffle it up and present it to you in new dramatic ways, but it's really the same story of what people are observing the sky, or what the sky does. And in the Civil War Marvel film, you had all the heroes fighting each other, but there's a specific scene where Giant Man becomes a giant, and these trinity of characters are what's needed to knock them down. And it's not by coincidence that it has to be a trinity. And there's only a few ways to kill giants, because it's the idea on pulling or stopping the moon. You attack it directly in the face, back of the head, go inside of it, and you see all
And it's wild, right? Because look how they've got him, right? They've got him like, the cross again. How, how they got mama holding up her hands in the cross, representing the moon, knocking him over. Uh, yeah, that's wild.
these kind of things happen to Giant Man, even though they don't kill him, but it's all encoding how would you destroy the moon. The same thing, or lasso it, as you'll see in a lot of films. Lassoing the moon is the idea, so you see why Spider-Man's wrapping the legs up. And the same thing,
Ah, got you, got you. That makes sense. That's why Spider-Man's wrapping their legs up because he's wrapping the moon up. Okay. And then we had Jim Carrey, he wraps this moon up, right? He wraps the moon up, and then you have
how would you destroy the moon?
Is it Wonder Woman wrapping the enemy up, which is the moon?
The same thing, or lasso it,
Yeah, lasso in the moon. Well, look at that.
as you'll see in a lot of films. Lassoing the moon is the idea, so you see why Spider-Man's wrapping the legs.
Ah, hold on a second. It makes sense now. Hold on, folks. Hold on. Hold on. It makes sense why they lasso the bulls, right? The cow, the moon. They're lassoing the moon, right? They make sports out of it. This is what I'm saying. It's in everything. They're lassoing the moon, right? This is wild. Everything leads back to the moon, it seems like. The cow, the bull, the moon, right? They make sports out of it. Look, this is what they do. Lassoing the cow, right? Look, lassoing the cow, the bull, it leads back to the moon, right? Everything leads back to the moon, the mother. Now, if you look again, it's another representation of the mother, the great serpent, right? The great serpent, the mother. Another representation here, the bull, the cow, the moon, which is being lassoed. It's got a leash, right? It's got a leash. And then what do we have here? The pyramid with the opening on top, right? Leads you back to mother again, leads you back to the moon. That's a trinity right there. We've got 1, 2, 3. Right? Where do we see this type of stuff? It's taking you back to mother, apparently. Right? Look, see. Everything leads back to the moon. Mother, the cow, the bull. Look down there. You got the cow just chilling again. Right? You got the cow just chilling again. It's a moon worshipping system, ladies and gentlemen. Don't you get it? All leads back to the moon. Crazy.
Eggs up. And the same thing happens in one of the Star Wars films where the scene is based off of, where these AT walkers come, and that's the way they take them down. And there's more than three that are shown in the film, but when they first appear, they appear in a trinity of three like that. So it's an inversion of the idea. And this is like kind of even where we get the idea of the story of the three little pigs and the big bad wolf.
Ah, yes, of course. The three little pigs. Why didn't I bloody think of that one? And the wolf. How's that the moon, right? School sniper in the building. How you doing? I don't know in the building. How you doing? Welcome, welcome, welcome. Hey, let me know if you don't want that link, Post that link if you want to add to this. Because like I said, it all leads back to the moon. All right. So if you got anything to do with the moon, let me know and I'll drop that link.
Right? A wolf is an animal that's associated with the moon, and the pigs are animals that are associated with the zodiac calendar. So they represent the sun. And then we have the pig, which is a play on the moon. And it's an inversion of that idea. You can even look at the circle that's around the pigs. It's letting you know that it's about the moon and the sun.
Facts. Circle around the pig. Look at that. That's hollow earth, hollow moon they're showing you. Look at that. Yeah. With the house on top, right? The car sale. The car sale. Look at that. I love it, man. It all leads back to hollow earth, hollow moon. The lens, the eye. Brilliant. Brilliant.
Circle that's around the pigs is letting you know that it's about the moon and the sun, or the moon and three stars. The Legend of Zelda is a pretty
Ah, Zelda. Yes. Yes, yes, yes. Okay.
obvious one to show, or a series about a trinity. And Link is a character who represents the moon. This is why his name is Link. It sounds just like Abraham Lincoln. He has a slingshot. We slingshot to the moon. This is the same idea, just encoded in a character, right? But in this series, there's a lot of giants, and specifically, there's this one game called Triforce Heroes, and there is you can see there's three different links or three characters based off of Link, and then they're fighting a giant. And that's the one of the promotional artworks for the game, but it's encoding that story, right? And you can see that the weapon that the giant is using points to the moon also. And you notice that Link is using like a giant hammer. A lot of times when people are battling giants, it'll be a hammer or axe to use against it.
Yeah, they do. I think even the Russians have that with their, logo, their flag. And Thor is depicted with his hammer also, All these back to the moon, man. This is strange.
And there's even some films or pictures or ideas where there's three moons versus a star, and you might see this in like a sci-fi fiction film. And another thing to mention is you might see an inversion of the idea where they're battling someone who's super tiny, you know, three tiny people versus uh, a giant person or something like that. But I mean, this is even you can even see this symbol on Oreo cookies, letting you know that it's an encode about three stars versus the moon. And if you notice, a space shuttle, it has the three
Oh, what
bars
was that?
versus the
On the Oreo cookie, yeah? Okay.
moon. And if you notice, a space shuttle, it has the three boosters that are connected to it that dislodge, and it's for that reason. It's because it's a trinity. They probably could have all fit it in two different boosters, four boosters. Why is there three? It's because it's a trinity. And
Yeah.
this is seen in almost anything, any story that has to do with the moon. You're going to see a trinity of some type associated with it. In a recent Naruto series, right? There's the eye of the moon phase, right? And anytime you have an eye in the sky or a moon in the sky, that's super. There's going to be a reset. So this is a reset series, but their final boss in this series is a character named Kaguya, I believe, and they're able to only beat her once the Trinity is formed, and the Trinity fights her. And Naruto is a series that always had a three-man team, and it's probably for that reason. And just in case you think this idea isn't there's no truth to this idea. This isn't every time you see a trinity of characters, you can bet it that it's going to be against the sun or a giant moon. In the Batman versus Superman film, when there was no big threat, there was turmoil. Batman and Superman were fighting each other, remember? But then the moon came, the super moon or the Titan came, and they all had to fight together. And this was a great film to introduce.
Look at that. Doomsday, Enter Doomsday. Woo! You wouldn't want to fight this guy. Not this guy. Anyone but this guy. No way. Mm-mm.
Wonder Woman in because it kind of matches that myth where you have the Titan.
He's got the free thing going on, the free lights, right? The free lights. He's glowing in three parts. The Trinity again. And he's representing the moon as himself. And he's got the three lights, the three trinities glowing. Nice.
But and you can just pay attention to the fight scenes in this film, how Wonder Woman's attacking Doomsday. It's almost the same way that the Avengers tried to attack uh Thanos, cutting at the ankle or stabbing in the back of the neck, because there's only a certain type amount of ways that you can kill a Titan because it's the play on how to take down the moon. And as Captain America was the bright star that rose up out of nowhere or had a hidden.
Look at her shield, though. I like that. Look at the
And
shield
as
work. Look at the shield work. Look at that. And she's coming out of the circle. She's got the diamond on her head.
Captain America was the bright star that rose up out of nowhere or had a hidden power in
Mm.
the Avengers Endgame film. Wonder Woman is kind of shown to be that in this film, right? She's shining bright. Her shield is shining like the sun. So there's always going to be an element where one character has an unknown ability or rises up. I think in the Ultron film, it was Vision. Vision surprised everyone with his ability in the final act. And you look at this film, Doomsday is a direct play on the moon. Like he looks just like a character who looks like the moon. And
Yeah, he does.
he was created from General Zod, but Lex Luthor or Luxor, which is, like the pyramid idea. This is where we get the idea of like luxury brand vehicles. This is why most vehicles that are luxury are moon based. But he's the one who helped reawaken or create Doomsday.
Wow. Luxury cars are moon based. Damn, never heard that. I mean, let's try it. Mm, Lamborghini. Oh, lamb. Light. Leos. See what we did there? All right, let's try another one. Bentley. Ben Stone. Ben. The pyramid. The mound. Crystal. Bentley. Ben. Okay. What else we got? What else we got? Golf. Golf, right? Remember, golf also tied back to the moon when we done our little investigation. Investigation. Well, is golf really a luxury car though? Nah, it's not really a luxury car. It's wild though, but I can see what the guy is saying, you know. These luxury cars tying back to the moon. Yeah. Maybe everything tied back to the moon.
Day, and Doomsday is the character is definitely the moon, or personifying the moon, and this is what we see. You know, the outcome of it. The Trinity has to form to take him down. I mean, then in the old Superman, I think Superman 2, where you had General Zod come and he came with a Trinity, they're all
Yeah.
in black, like the moon, and Superman is the sun man, is an inversion of that idea. But when they show these characters, they're always associated with the cross. You can see the cross in this picture.
Yeah, it's right. They're representing the moon. And it's wild, right? Because they would play it backwards to us and be like, yeah, the black represents evilness, right? When it's just a play on, you know, the mother, the blackness, the darkness, right? It leads back to the mother. That's why in Islam, the ladies, you know, dress in complete black, cover their face, representing the womb itself, the nucleus, right? The black leads back to the moon, apparently.
Right, and or the moon. There's a scene where they actually go to the moon to try to wreak havoc on the moon. Excuse me. And that's because these stories are really just telling you the story about the sun and or the moon. But specifically in this Trinity type stories, it's about a trinity of moon-based characters approaching or going to the supermoon or the superstar, and or vice versa. I mean, this idea also goes on for the Justice League film where Steppenwolf comes, who's a play on the Sirius Dog Star, you know, just like you know, he's traveling here to prepare the world for Dark Side of the Moon, which is also a supermoon story. But he's a Titan compared to the Justice League, and you can see, you know, they actually get the confidence to start really fighting against them when they're forming a Trinity. But luckily for them, Superman came, you know. So the story switched from the three tiny stars to, you know, the Leo the Lion character beating the Titan, and you know, or the not the Titan or the moon, you know, the full moon. But we'll see what happens when the
The line again, right? And the line would be the lens, right? The diamond. And you know what he's got, right? This is like the Superman sign. This shit right here. Yeah, that's the Superman logo right there. Beating the moon. This is the moon itself, the diamond again. The Superman sign. All right.
supermoon comes in a later film, kind of idea. And then also like the Harry Potter films, you have the Trinity of characters, you know, versus the giant troll. And it's not by coincidence. They're always going to be whenever you have these characters together in the Trinity, you can expect them to battle a troll at some point, or not a troll, but a giant or something way taller than them at some point. The recent Sonic movie,
Yeah, there you go again. Even in Harry Potter. Even Harry Potter's about the moon. Look at that. It's all in there.
film, he formed a new Trinity of characters or allies in this film, and you know,
Yeah, look, Sonic, Knuckles, and Tails again. How didn't we see this? All back to the moon, right? And who do they fight? Robotnik, right? Dr. Robotnik. Yeah. Okay.
Look at Sonic and Knuckles and Tails. They're an inversion or a play on the idea of like Captain America, Tails being Falcon. He has the goggles and a red bird, and then you have Knuckles, who's the Winter Soldier. It's not by coincidence. It's not because these things are inspired by each other. It's because they're telling the same story about the stars and characters, so they have overlap. Just think about the opening scene of Captain America Winter Soldier. You have Cap saying on your left, and Falcon can't keep up. It's the same idea with Falcon, with Sonic and Tails. But in this film, you know, uh, they battle each other out before there was a super threat, right? It was them having turmoil amongst each other where Knuckles was against them, right? And Robotnik was just a little character in this film. And his name is Eggman, which is a point back to the spring, like the Easter Bunny, but also to the moon. And in this film, when he turns into a giant or a titan, they form a trinity to fight against them. And there's conversation about we have to attack his weak spot, which is the groin, because the word groin points back to the moon, which is like the word we get the word Gru from, or Groot, as in the Avengers series. All these words point back to the moon. This is you get the idea of like growth hormones from the moon, and there's a lot of words like Gru or Gore in the recent Thor film, or Gara from Naruto. These are all characters who are representing the moon. This is why the little character from Gremlins, Grem means moon, right? Looks just like the character from
Damn. Imagine that. To Grimming's moon. And we used to have Gremlin over here connecting dots with us. I wonder if she even knew there was a link to her name. That's cold. I like that. Look at that. What is he in? Like he's in the eye. Look at that. Okay.
from uh, the Mandalorian, the Baby Yoda, and I think the Baby Yoda's name is like Gragu, and because these are all the words that point to the moon. But they say, how can we beat this Titan? We have to punch him in the groin because they're letting you know that we can't beat. How do we beat the moon? We have to beat the moon the way the moon gets beat. And you can see them fighting, and like the other stories, out of nowhere, Sonic gets a new ability or shines brighter, and he becomes a sun-based character. And in the beginning of the film, he was known as some type of moon hero, like a moon superhero. And then Knuckles came, and Knuckles is a character who has a moon crescent
Hold on.
directly superhero.
Look at that. It's like he turned into the nucleus. Look at that. The golden era. Look at him shining.
And then Knuckles came, and Knuckles is a character who has a moon
The,
crescent
the
directly
light.
on his chest, letting you know he is the moon. But this goes over most people's heads. You remember Knuckles is a parallel to Bucky from uh, Captain America, and Bucky is a character who represents the Buck Moon, and Captain America is a character who represents an angel or angle of the sun. That's why he has the star. So you see the same idea just being told over through these characters. And then in one of the recent Godzilla films, right, the keyword God is in the name of Godzilla. But Godzilla is something that encodes the moon, right? But he fights this giant three-headed dragon,
Mm,
and the three
look at that. Ghidorah representing the moon. Look at Ghidorah. Mm-hmm. Look at that again. Look at that. Mm-hmm. Where did we see that? Beautiful. Hold on. Beautiful. Ghidorah.
three-headed dragon forms like a trinity, and the wingspan of dragons. Whenever you see dragons in films or pterodactyls, always look at their wingspan and how they're showing it. It's always going to show you a moon crescent because these characters and these ideas always point to the moon. But you can see this, I think it's Ghidorah or something coming out of the volcano with a crescent moon pointing up. Same symbol as the Eye of Sauron, but just with the Trinity in the middle, and directly parallel to it is the cross, letting you know this is the sun versus crescent or evil trinity of moon idea that's about to happen in this fight. And similar, there's a film called Reign of Fire that's about these dragons taking over the world, giant titans popping out of nowhere. And Christian Bale, which is the character who letting you know son, right? His name is Quinn in this film, and he is working with these two other characters, a trinity, to take down the titans, right? And you can see one of them is the alpha male. He's like the the bright star in this film, right? He has an axe too. Axe is always needed to take down the titan or the moon, but he ends up sacrificing himself so that the other two can have a shot. And Christian Bale out of nowhere rises up to the challenge, kind of get that new ability or shining bright like a star uh, kind of scene that happens in this film. And they do the same thing with the dragon. One tries to go directly at its face with an axe and doesn't work, but then the other one has to shoot something inside of it because there's only a certain amount of ways to kill titans or dragons or the moon. The recent Deadpool film, Juggernaut is added to it, and it's an inversion of the idea where Juggernaut has this bright yellow costume on because he just got out of jail, but not because of that. It's only because they're letting you know he is representing the sun versus three gothic like moon based characters. And they fight him and they don't win at first, and then they end up going inside of the building. But then Colossus comes, right? So now you have a giant star or the sun versus Colossus, who's like a full moon, and Colossus isn't able to do it by itself. But then the other two Gothic characters come from the X-Men, forming a new trinity, and they're able to beat them. And that's not like coincidence. These rules are. It seems like they're made where the people who are writing stories have to follow it, or they subconsciously or unknowingly are writing the story of the sky. I mean, in this story, this idea of the sky being encoded in these Trinity stories is so apparent. You look at the story of the three amigos. All you have to do is look at their hats. Right?
The Three Amigos. We mentioned that earlier. Yeah, the Three Amigos. There we go.
You see the moon, you see the sun, you see the cross or the sun or a star in it. The same idea with the
Yeah, Three Musketeers. We mentioned that. The Three Stooges. Brilliant. Yeah, look at that. Triple, triple, triple.
the
And look, they always seem to be. Hold on.
sun
Oh,
or a star in it. The same idea with the
yeah. The circle. Right. Some of them have the theme with the circle. Right, and the three in the middle. There's a reason why they do that. And look how they're positioned, right, like a pyramid.
the Three Musketeers were actually four, right? But it's the same thing. And just
The Three Ninja Kids as well. Oh man, that was my shit. Hold on a second. Anybody remember the Three Ninja Kids? I bet you don't remember the Three Ninja Kids. Huh? I bet you don't remember the Three Ninja Kids. No way. Tum Tum, Rocky Colt. What? That was my stuff. Are you crazy?
think about the idea of the three wise men searching for the shining star following the star, right? It's the same idea, just encoded in different ways. It's the inversion of it. Another arc in the Naruto series is it's the inversion of it.
Yeah, the Three Wise Men. Or was that the four? They got four there, or is that three? Is three wise men, or is it the four wise men?
Another arc in the Naruto series is there's these three little kids who are not really trained, but they end up taking out like this super guy named Salamander, who's like he has like a giant frog or something like that. It's an inversion of the ideas, and you see one of them has his hair spiky like the sun. So you have also the same story where it's three stars versus a bigger moon character or a super moon type character. I mean, this goes on and on. In one of the Jurassic Park films, when they created that Indoraptor, you have Blue and another raptor try to take it down with the T-Rex. So you had two tiny stars and a T-Rex, but one of the stars ended up dying. One of the raptors died. So it ended up being Blue, right, which is a play on Sirius
Wow.
Star. And you'll see Sirius talk.
Even Jurassic Park. I told you it's in everything. There's a theme which goes back to the moon, and it's in everything, right? Pay attention. It's always been about the moon, We just didn't notice. Right?
Star as a character in other films as well, a part of the Trinity. But you have, for instance, the Sonic film Tails is a play on Sirius the Dog Star, and but that goes on and on. And this film, they end up having the Moses stories, right? And the Moses is a character who's in the Bible, or a character who's based off of also the kind of idea of the stories. Jump out of the water and with the other three, and the other two form a trinity to take down the supermoon, the Indoraptor. And then in the most recent film, I think the final battle between dinosaurs is just the trinity of three giant dinosaurs fighting each other. In the Lord of the Rings series, you have the opposite of that, right? You have the Leo the Lion Kingdom, right, or the House of Lannister versus the House of Daenerys, I believe, which is the Dragon Kingdom, and of course she has three Titan dragons. So she has it's a real inversion of that idea where you have three Titans versus the tiny Lion Kingdom. And to further add to that idea, they have a dwarf usually in these type of films. This is why the one dwarf from the Lion Kingdom comes to the Dragon Kingdom, because it's letting you know these stories are about the sky, right? They're just encoded through people. This same idea even happens in the Infinity Saga, where that same actor is playing a giant in space, right? On a dwarfed sun or a dwarf star, and but he's also a giant. So it's a play on all these ideas where you have a tiny star versus a Anthony Stark, or Supermoon versus a bunch of tiny stars, and or vice versa. But that's what's being encoded with these stories. So whenever you see like a three-headed animal in a myth or something like that, you should figure out what they represent.
What was that?
Whenever you see like a three-headed animal in a myth or something like that, you should figure.
So grow equals moon. Okay. Side note, I poked my head outside, right? And Luna is looking lovely and bright, right? She's looking lovely out there. Has anybody noticed? Have a look. She's looking lovely. Wow. She's looking lovely. Mm. Well done, Mama.
Figure out what they represent. Like a Leo the lion with three heads. You're looking at the encode of these kind of stories being told.
You see what's going on here? Even the three cubes right there, look. And then the moon here himself. Everything leads back to the moon, ladies and gentlemen. They've been showing you in front of your face for a long time. Everything leads back. Mm, good stuff. I enjoyed that. Yeah, man. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. That was decent.
What is your secret?
That's
I mean, like I've been saying, everything leads back to the moon. All right? Everything leads back to the moon. Plain sight, right? It's in the movies, it's in the music, it's in the art, it's in the cartoons. But we just don't notice. Why is everything leading back to the moon? Can anybody tell me? You know what? I need a toilet break. Give me a second, folks. Little intermission. You're he, you're he. You're he, you're he. You're he, you're he. Back up. That. Oh, knackered. Kimberly in the building. Sister Kimberly, how we doing? Much love. Good to see you. Good to see you. Grand Rising. Grand Rising. Me set lay low. What's up? So yeah, we just went over a quick little one-two with Hollywood productions, how everything leads back to the moon. Everything leads back to the moon, it seems like. This is the story they're putting out there, narrative, right? The moon in plain sight. How long does it go back? All of these rituals, everything leads back to the moon, apparently. Strange. Yeah, I don't even know, man. It's what's going life off? Cursor doing that. One sec. Calls. Excuse me. Yeah, so like I was saying, everything leads back to the moon, ladies and gentlemen. Whether you can see it or not, whether you choose to believe it or not, it's not really a belief system, it's just knowing, right? I'm just showing you what they're showing me, connecting the dots. Now, with everything they put out there in the last, what, few months, I'm guessing it's all moon based to some degree, right? It's all moon based. Now, what's been one of the biggest things in the media? Oh, wait. Jeffrey Epstein. Hmm? Jeffrey Epstein. Maybe there's a link to, you know, some type of moon worship in there. I don't know. I mean, they are doing some out of this world stuff, right? Seems like they're doing rituals and everything. So, Mr. Epstein, I wonder if they have anything that ties back into the moon. All right, let's have a look, see.
Wait till you find out that the Phoenician god Baal has been mentioned numerous times in the Epstein files. This video has surfaced recently about the image of Baal in Iran being.
Oh, Baal has been mentioned in the Epstein files. Hmm? Baal. Lead you back to the cow, right? The cow. Baal. Everything leads back to the cow. And what are they showing you with the cow? The horns. It's the representation of the horns, right? The horns. Wow. Okay, that's what they gotta say.
Set on fire.
They are burning that. I want to get copyright. Well, I don't even care. They don't even know they're setting fire to the world right now. You know, they're setting fire to the world, to the moon. Hmm? They're setting fire to the world right now. Only if they knew, right? If they're in the center, they're setting fire to themselves. Hmm? The moon, the cow.
We're going to talk about that in a minute. Stay tuned. I went on DOJ website and I'm going to make sure you can see this. And I typed the word Baal, Baal, and here is what we find. A number of documents came up showing this god Baal has been mentioned numerous times in connections to the Epstein files. So better understand what's going on here, I'm going to play a short clip from Redacted. Listen carefully to what is being discussed here.
So let's do that because I want to talk about Baal and the devil worship and this whole big piece of this story.
We don't want to talk about that at all, actually, but we're going to because it's an important piece. Now, again, at the beginning of the show, I warned you.
He said she don't want to talk about it. She shook. Talk your mind, girl.
At all, actually, but we're going.
And this whole big piece of this story.
We don't want to talk about that at all, actually, but we're going to because it's an important piece. Now, again, at the beginning of the show, I warned you. This is going to be dark. This is demonic. Whatever you need to do, a prayer, a crystal, a candle, do it because I don't want you to take this with you into your day, but it's something I think we need to.
Get your crucifix out, get your rosary beads.
Whatever it is that you believe in, protect yourself and don't let this cling on to you. Okay. You may have seen references to Baal in the Epstein files and the conversations around it. So let's figure out what the heck this is. First, who is Baal? And what do we know about it from the Epstein files? Well, in modern symbology, this is a depiction of Baal. I don't want to leave it on the screen too much, but the Bible says that Baal is not really a cartoonish demon, but a Canaanite fertility and storm god whose name means Lord, but he becomes later this central symbol of Israeli spiritual rebellion, not Israeli, Israel's spiritual rebellion, a rival deity tied to ritual sex exploitation. Later, this central symbol of God whose name means Lord, but he becomes later this central symbology. This is a depiction of Baal. I don't want to leave it on the screen too.
Hold on a second. Let's go over here somewhere. 1 second. Yeah, go ahead. Now, when I see that ball picture, right, it reminds me of this stuff again. Where is it? Excuse me. The mother worshipping again. Mother and child, right? Meant to be like mother and child, the cow, the mother, the moon. Right, mother and child. The mother. But I don't know, that's probably the male version.
Screen too much, but the Bible says that Baal is not really a cartoonish demon, but a Canaanite fertility and storm god whose name means Lord, but he becomes later this central symbol of Israeli spiritual rebellion, not Israeli, Israel's spiritual rebellion, a rival deity tied to ritual sex, exploitation, and even child sacrifice in surrounding pagan cultures.
Yeah, but this is the thing, right? How do we really know that was the case, right? Like, you lot change the stories. Everything's been changed, inverted. How do we know they're not handing it over to like a representation of mother, like saying, "Hey, you're safe with me"? Hmm? How can we be sure it was sacrifice? How do we know the story hasn't been changed? I'm just saying. I'm just saying.
Now, the prophets in the Bible, especially Elijah in the book of Kings, frame Baal worship as seductive counterfeit religion based on power, pleasure, and moral corruption. Now, over time, Jewish and Christian tradition came to interpret pagan gods like Baal as demonic forces operating behind idolatry. So when the name Baal surfaces in modern controversies, it evokes not just ancient false gods, but a biblical shorthand for
Exactly. Hey, AJ, that's a good one right there. Right? AJ said in India, the cow is holy. Right? In India, the cow is holy. Someone's lying. Right? Someone's lying. Hmm? Someone's lying. Yeah, the cow was holy. They got the cow as a enemy, Baal, but who knows? Maybe the story's changed. Right? But like I said, it's all about the pose, the mother pose, right? The moon pose with the arms out. You see the cow with the arm pose out. Yeah, they're showing you the mother. Where else do we see that? Hmm? Where else do we see that? Hmm? There you go. I'll wait. I'll wait. It was holy in some regions of the world, right? It was seen as protection.
elite decadence, ritualized immortality, and the abandonment of moral law. Now, not only do various iterations of the word come up and also certain numbers, you can search it yourself. Again, I want you to protect yourself when you do it, but it's BAAL or BAA1 is another way that it comes up repeatedly in these documents. Also, Epstein's own financier, Lex Wesner, made references to it publicly. Here's how researcher Whitney Webb explained that.
My parents are very happy lately.
Yeah.
I bought them a
All right, calm down.
About him being so focused. What's so crazy too, about him being so focused on basically taking
What the hell is this? Is that another representation of, Baal? Yeah, the mother again. I got the serpent. Whenever you see the serpent, that's a representation of the mother. Right? Could be, what's that thing called again? The Baphomet again. Right? Animal bottom half. Yeah, look at that Medusa face. Ugh.
taking control of the leadership of the Jewish American community by basically having it filled with people that he has.
Yes, Kimberly, same as in Egypt, Hathor. Exactly. That's something I'm going to get into at a later stage. I had something lined up for that one. Right. But yeah, you are correct.
Trained in views that he agrees with or policies.
What happened there? Pause.
Or whatever. is that Wexner in 1985 basically is like, yeah, I'm possessed by a demon that tells me what to do, and I have a split personality, and my the nice part of me is stunted, and I'm controlled by like this demon that tells me what to. He uses a Yiddish word that literally means demon. It's debuk, I think, is how it's pronounced.
Which is actually COVID backwards, right?
I've heard that. Don't really. I haven't looked into that. But anyway, in the case of Wexner, yeah, that's the word he chooses. There's a lot of words he could have picked in Yiddish that sounded nicer, but he wanted to brag about basically being a demon possessed crazy guy. And who was he catering to there? That's a New York magazine.
Avoid COVID, avoid House of David, the sick house, right? COVID.
And so that's a segment I put out from the book already. But when you look at it in the context of a guy that's, for the Jewish faith, saying that he's possessed by using the word that in the Jewish faith means like a demon possession. And he's like, yes, my demon controls me. And he's an integral.
Here is an interesting discussion. This is Anya Wig, who is the niece of Jeffrey Epstein. I want you to hear what she says.
I am Jeff Epstein's niece. My father and stepmother had a baby girl in 1991 who was raised by another family. In 1998, they assigned me her birth date on my birth certificate, which they waited 10 years to file, claiming my stepmother was my biological mother, and finally put me in school in the gifted program. My parents were upstanding citizens. My father was a divorce attorney. It goes back for generations. I remember my father confessing that my oldest brother is 8 years younger than him. They told me that we belonged to the cult of Baal. My great-grandfather, according to my father,
They belong to the cult of Baal, right? I can guarantee that is the cult of the moon again, right? It's a moon cult, right? What were we just watching a second ago? Hold on, we was watching, hold on. Take that one back.
So in this video, we're going to
Hold on a second. The free, right? It's all about the free. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. The three eyes. With the cow. The cow has to be there. If the three eyes is there, the cow has to be there. Right? The cow has to be there. If we're talking about the Holy Three, right? The cow has to be here somewhere. Look, three, right? If you've been doing your homework, right? You know where I'm going with this. Because we know Bro Sanchez didn't do his homework. He got that one fucked up, right? Let's go over here real quick. Right? Look, the three again. 1, 2, 3. The three eyes, right? And then the cow representing the moon. Bingo, got him. This ain't no turtle, right? This ain't no turtle, Bro Sanchez. It's the cow, it's the bull, it's the moon, right? It's all moon worship. All moon worship. I don't know how much I can stress it to you folks. But if you do your homework, just like London and Wim, you realize it's all about the moon. For now. Right? It's all about the moon. Right? The cow. Ain't no turtle. Yama ain't on no turtle. She's on the bull. She's on the moon. Right? It's all about the free. Right? We're just watching it. We're just seeing it. Pay attention. There's a method to my madness, right? the three, the Trinity. There's a method. But it all leads back to the moon. Man, 420 if you got that. All back to the moon. Whenever you see the cow, you see the moon. Right? Whenever you see the cow, you see the moon. They're showing you it's moon worship. The serpent as well. Right? I showed you a second ago on that ladies one. Let's go over here real quick. Where was we? No, right there, right? The mother comes as the serpent also. Right? She's the serpent. You see the mother, you see the serpent. You see the cow, you see the mother, you see the serpent, all of that. Right? She's there again. All of that.
You to hear what she says.
I am Jeff Epstein's niece. My father and stepmother had a baby girl in 1991 who was raised by another family. In 1998, they assigned me her birth date on my birth certificate, which they waited 10 years to file, claiming my stepmother was my biological mother, and finally put me in school in the gifted program. You know, my parents were upstanding citizens. My father was a divorce attorney. It goes back for generations. I remember my father confessing that my oldest brother is 8 years younger than him. They told me that we belonged to the cult of Baal. My great-grandfather, according to my father,
The cult of Baal.
was Walt Disney. Before he moved,
What?
according to my father, was Walt Disney. Before he moved to the United States, his name was Artur Bick, and his twin sister, who he had children with, who I am descended from, was named Minnie. That's where we get Mickey and Minnie Mouse. It's very cute.
What? That's sickness. That ain't cute. What is going on here? What is going on here? Cult of Baal. Okay.
Right? Except for when you consider the abuse that I suspect is still happening to children who go into the entertainment industry.
Hello there, hope you're very well. My name is Paul Smith. I've been a
That's crazy.
To children who go into the entertainment industry.
Now, here are some of the files that I've opened up, and here's the word Baal. Now, some are asking, is this a code word or is this Baal in a sense that we understand it? And the other word that's appeared several times in the documents as well is the word demons. So we have the word demons all throughout the documents. So don't ask me why. Just simply saying, of course, there's context. We don't want to run too fast because of a word. But again, it's very interesting what you're finding out when you look at this thing.
Jeffrey Epstein had a bank account, which was called Baal, the ancient Canaanite deity who children were sacrificed to. The word pizza is used over 900 times in Epstein's various emails. And mind you, the FBI has actually, for a long time now, released that words like pizza, there's a little graph here, actually are code words for predators. For
See, the craziest thing, hold on, right? Because look, let's go back a second. Even this picture here, there's no child being sacrificed here. They're just handing a child over to Baal, right? Which the narrative is behind it, sacrifice. But we've seen this play out many times in the media, right? One thing happens and the media says it's a different thing. Right? We've seen it happen. I'm not saying it's true or it's not true. I'm just saying, how can we really know what's really going on? Hmm? I can't see anything being sacrificed. The baby looks happy. Look, the baby's even doing mama's pose. Look, it's going to mama doing mama's pose, right? It's going to the mama doing mama's pose, saying, "Take me, mama." Look, it's doing mama's pose. What? Look at that. Huh? It's doing this pose right here. Like mother, like son. Saying, "Take me. You know me." Back to the cow.
Deity who children were sacrificed to. The word pizza is used over 900 times in Epstein's various emails. And mind you, the FBI has actually for a long time now released that words like pizza, there's a little graph here, actually are code words for predators, for things like boy, girl, little boy. So we have this we have this woman who sends a photo of her baby to Epstein and says, "Your generosity has no limits," after receiving an unbelievable sum in her bank account and that she's never seen. We have an email from someone to Jeffrey Epstein saying, "I decided to sacrifice poor homosexuals."
Damn. Damn. Sucks to be a homo.
Prince Andrew hovering over a defenseless child on the floor. We have an email from Jeffrey Epstein to someone who is redacted saying, "Where are you? Are you okay?" Loved the Twitter video.
What the scripture says about Baal that's very interesting is that the children of Israel, every time they departed from the Lord, they went and worshiped and served Balaam. So as they departed from God, Baal began to be worshipped. So this God is known as the God of turning away, the God that leads the children of Israel to forget their God. And we are told next to Baal is Ashtoreth.
Whoa, I mean, on one hand, right, you got a jealous God that was, permitting violence in the name of him, right? He was saying, "Yeah, go out and do my bidding. Hey, do this, do that. Hey, I think we need a flood, right? I think we need a fire. I think we need a plague." And then you got one other, so-called God that was just standing there saying, "Hey, I'm cool, man. Don't believe the hype. Don't believe the hype. I didn't send no floods. I didn't send no plagues. I didn't even sacrifice no children. That's their story. Let me tell my own story." Yeah. I didn't do no floods. I didn't sacrifice nothing. I didn't send no plagues. It was him over there. Let me tell my own story. This is my story, my ghetto story. You get me?
Now, there's also Tammuz. You may find Tammuz in Ezekiel chapter 9. Tammuz is the reincarnation of.
What I'm trying to say is, what God would you rather follow? A God that sends floods and plagues and promotes violence and jealous, or, a, a cow God? Oh, cow God. Hey, I run with the cow God all day long. Right? I'm running in the fields. We're grazing with the cow gods. Yeah, cool, all day long. Vegan life, you dig?
of Baal or Nimrod. The reason I say that, the religion of Cush gave rise to the sun god. The sun god is what is known today as Baal or Lord, Master, which is the God of turning away. Ashtoreth in the scripture is the God that is oftentimes associated with children sacrifices. Now, these gods.
No, hold on. I didn't know. No. I thought Astrith was someone's wife. Whose wife was Astrith? Astrith was someone's wife who got banished to the underworld, apparently. Was it Nimrod's wife or someone's wife like that? It may have been Nimrod's wife or someone's wife, right? But if I'm correct, they got banished to the underworld, right? And apparently that's why all the trees got cut down, because it reminded the person of their own wife. So they cut all the trees down, all the female trees at that, right? All the female trees. Or was it Nimrod's wife? Whose wife was it? Who was the husband? Oh man. See, there's different stories to it, but it's the same people. She got banished to the underworld. Baal is associated with the underworld also, you know, and connected with the children. And I think he just said Ashroth is connected with the children. Bit like Peter Pan. Bit like Peter Pan, right? Neverland, the moon, and all of that stuff, and the children, and then the crocodile, right? The ship, the celestial ship again. It's all a moon-based theme. It's a moon story, right?
Gods get worshipped differently depending on the culture. For example, if you go to the book of Jeremiah, you're going to see Baal can also receive children's sacrifices. They build also the high places of Baal.
Hold on, take that
For
back.
example, if you now these gods get appreciated. Ashtoreth in the
Yeah, Ashtoreth. Okay. Yep. Baal and Ashtoreth. They're probably the same people.
in the scripture is the God that is oftentimes associated with children sacrifices. Now,
That's what they do sometimes. They'll split a character in half, give them like an alter ego, right? It's where you get the alter ego. They'll separate the person, make them into two, and they'll tell a story, but it's really one person they're telling it about, but they'll act like it's multiple persons, right?
these gods get worshipped differently depending on the culture. For example, if you go to the book of Jeremiah, you're going to see Baal can also receive children's sacrifices. They've built also the high places of Baal to burn their sons with fire for burnt offerings unto Baal, which I commanded not, nor speak of, neither came it into my mind.
Is Baal Hadad the birth of the sun?
I have a 134 IQ. I make less money than.
Calm down.
We'll find the old symbol of the sun. We go to Mesopotamia, we'll find the old symbol of Baal, and Bel was exactly the same, the half moon and the star in it, representing the birth of the sun. Isis and Osiris, the male-female aspect. So this would be
the spark of life, the nucleus.
Ashtoret and Tammuz. So this would be Ashtoret.
Told you, Ashtoreth, that's the wife again, the moon, represented as the moon, which is Baal, the cow, in another sense, represented as the moon. Don't you get it? Right? It's like them splitting the nucleus or splitting the atom. They're splitting the character, splitting the stage. Right? Look.
The male-female aspect of the sun. Isis and Osiris, the male-female aspect. So this would be Ashtoret and Tammuz, or Isis and Horus, the male-female. The same you find in Egyptian, as we have already discussed it. This is Baal worship. This is Lucifer worship in his male, female form.
See, Lucifer, right? What's Lucifer again? Lucifer was known as what? The devil, right? The devil. Follow me now, right? The devil. Now, what's the devil got? What's the devil got? Yeah, the devil's got the horns as well. Who's known to live in the underworld, right? The same place with Hathor and all these people and Azroth, right? The moon in another sense, right? The moon in another sense. Devil, diva, demon, demond, diamond, right? It all leads back to the moon. What is the story they're trying to tell us? You see the horns, you see the moon, you see the crescent.
Now, the papacy has exactly the same thing because the Pope is today the representative of the Babylonian religion. So when he says the Mass, he has a round.
Yeah, you see this up in the air. You know why? When I show you with the moon, when you got this on the moon, because it all goes back to the moon, the body, the cell. All right. Guarantee this is a representation of the moon, the body itself, right?
Wafer disc, its roundness coming as a symbol of Baal.
See, Baal, he just said it, right? He just said it. I haven't even seen this. My first time I'm watching this with you guys. Look at that. And look what they got here. Look what's going on here. Look at the fibers again. We looked at that. But that one looks connected all around, right?
And after a Mass, it is placed in a monstrance, which is a half moon. So then you have the birth of the sun and you have its moon.
Look at that. What is this? Nice.
So then you have the birth and you have it symbolized in this form.
Okay, let's talk about Baal right now, because this is really, really important for every Christian to understand spiritually what's being exposed right now. This isn't just Iran. This is prophetic for the world with the Epstein files, with everything that's going on. You see, in the Old Testament, Baal wasn't just a statue. He was the Canaanite storm god believed to provide people prosperity, whether it was through rain or crops or fertility. But the reality is Baal represented something much darker. Prosperity at any cost, sexual immorality being normalized, a pursuit of power, and that power coming from sacrificing children. When Israel turned to Baal, the children were offered in the fire. Now, what's crazy is in 1 Kings 18, the prophet Elijah stands alone against the prophets of Baal. The people were silent. They were watching. They wouldn't choose a side. And Elijah goes to them and he goes, how long are you guys going to waver between opinions? And now we flash forward and you see systems that exploit children. You see sexual corruption at the highest levels where innocent people and children are being harmed by people in positions of power. That's not new. That's an ancient spirit. But the part that most Christians miss is that exposing that darkness is step one. Action's number two, and this isn't just governmental, this is personal. To move in the opposite spirit of that darkness. That's why I talk about sponsoring Children with Compassion International so much, because if Baal represents sacrificing children, then sponsoring poor children is literally the opposite of that heartbeat. It's standing in the gap for these kids, not just exposing the darkness, but protecting the most vulnerable around us. I believe that's the call to the Christian in this day and age, is to stand against the darkness and then to move towards the most vulnerable.
Hello there, hope you're very well. My name is Paul Smith.
Bible turned out to be a much more powerful God. You know, the God of the Bible turned out to be a much more powerful God. In Hosea chapter 2, verse 16, and it shall be in that day, saith the Lord, thou shalt call me Ish, and shall call me no more Baali, for I will take away the name of Balaam out of their mouths, and they shall no more be remembered by their name. And this is what happens.
Oh, hold on. I remember them saying earlier there. What was it? The AAL1. Was it one they said? But they got an I there. Ali. Ali, is that another word for the moon? Ali.
Their mouths, and they shall no more be remembered by their name. And this is what happens when God intervened and changed the hearts of his people. And the message is this: Baal was often worshipped as a political, sometimes religious powers were seeking to unite with the paganistic practices. Baal was always at the center of sun worship. It was also to Baal that the agricultural prosperity, such as rain, crops, and fertility was to be received. The people was to pray for that as well. And whenever the children of Israel went into apostasy, they departed from God and forget God and begin to worship Baal. And this is a common practice you find all throughout Scripture.
It's a cult mysticism. That's the way that it's able to move through seemingly all the faiths, right? Aleister Crowley. Well, how could you have the Star of David once upon a time? What was it, before 1914? That was the flag of Morocco. That's weird. That's not a Jewish nation. What does it actually symbolize? Occult mysticism. That's why it's on the cover of Aleister Crowley's books. If you're going to perform magic and rituals, and yes, sorry guys, got to wake up. It's a Monday. We got to get you there. They deem children to be a necessary part of their initiation rituals.
So the likelihood of this being found in the Epstein files is no shocking news to me at all, because the Bible tells us this is exactly what we should expect in these end times. We do not wrestle against flesh and blood, but against principalities, against powers, against the rulers of the darkness of this world, against spiritual wickedness in high places. So world leaders connecting to Baal, worshiping Baal, doing things in concession to Baal, we shouldn't be shocked by that. It's just the nature of the game in which we live. Baal worship essentially leads to sun worship. Baal is one of the most popular god in the entire world.
Who is Baal, church? The god of baby sacrifice. And who is Asherah? Baal, church? The god of baby sacrifice.
There again, I ain't yet seen him sacrifice a baby. He's just holding a baby, right? Bit like mother, right? Just holding the baby.
And who is Asherah? The goddess of sex. And they would worship Asherah through orgies and unbridled sexual escapades, which 9 months later results in an unwanted baby, which you then pass through the fire to Baal. What if I told you the strategy has never changed? What if I told you there's nothing new under the sun? And as it
But the thing is, right, the fire is also seen as a cleansing symbol, right? What if it's different? What if they're actually telling us it's sin? You're cleansing through sin, right? Going through Baal, right? Fire also cleanses. It's not just for sacrifice, it's for cleansing in another sense, right?
was in Judges 6, so it is today. Planned Parenthood and the Spirit of the Age and his acolytes have used the same Judges 6 strategy for decades. They push pornographic, sexually titillating material and curriculum onto young kids to break down their sexual and societal mores and standards, to reduce them to their most animalistic appetites so they can't govern themselves, so they'll have more sex, so that more unwanted Planned Parenthood today. And culture war that we're facing today that so many pastors refuse to engage on because I don't really do the culture war, I just preach the gospel. No, you preach a syncretist, cheap grace gospel to ensure that you don't lose any tithes from the people in your congregation who you refuse to call to repentance.
For the Iranian people to actually associate Israel in America with Baal worship, calls it the idol of Baal, describes the religious text, false god associated with deviation from monotheism. And they went on to shout death to Israel and death to America. They're associating the United States of America and Israel to Baal worship. And the burning of Baal is a rejection of the United States. Now, do I agree with that? No, I don't necessarily agree with that. But to be honest, behind the scenes, the occult of Baal worship is very common today. And behind the mark of the beast and the national Sunday law is the worship of the sun god. And Baal was known as the chief god of the sun. So it's good to keep that in mind as well. There is nothing new under the sun.
Hello there. Hope you're very well. My name is Paul Smith. I've been.
Paul, not you again.
Is in the book of Exodus. God delivered his people. They got together and they created a golden calf and they worshiped it. You would worship Baal if you wanted to succeed and be affluent and live a lavish lifestyle. Baal is typified as a bull. A calf is a baby bull. They were worshiping Baal. And see, what happens is we read the Bible and we think those people are primitive. Thankfully, we've moved beyond that sort of primitive thinking. Thankfully, we don't worship a Baal or bull. Yes, we do. This is right next to the New York Stock Exchange. If we were Hebrews from the Old Testament, we would say, well, there's Baal, the golden bull, and we worship him because we want a bull or Baal market. A bull or Baal market is a thriving market. What I'm telling you is this. We're dealing with new days but old demons. I've said this for a long time. If the people change and things don't, that means that the spirit working through them is the same.
Let me read this quotation to you from the book, The Great Controversy, page 583, paragraph 1. Though in a different form, idolatry exists in the Christian world today as verily as it existed among ancient Israel in the days of Elijah. The God of many professedly wise men, of philosophers, poets, politicians, journalists, the God of polished, fashionable circles, of many colleges and universities, even of some theological institution, is little better than Baal, the sun god of Phoenicia. Well, friends, I'm interested to hear your thoughts. What do you think about this video, Baal worship found in the Epstein file related to some individuals and some of the things that they're doing? Is that a shocker to you? For me, not exactly. But if you want to know more about this, again, go to my Mark of the Beast 1, presentation number 12, and study about what happened after the Tower of Babel, where I spent time getting into the mystery religion and see how these things not only
It seems everything leads back to the moon. Check, check. You're he, you're he. You're he, you're he. Check, check. Might check, check. You're he, you're he. This world is inverted. If they tell you to look left, you must look right. They tell people, yeah, come on. I've been saying this. It's inverted. I mean, some of these stories could be the complete opposite. Inverted. Wild, right? Seems like everything leads back to the moon. I don't make the rules. I just show you. The bull, the horn, all of that stuff. They blow a budget in Hollywood to show you this stuff, right? They blow a budget to show you this stuff. What if the moon is upside down? Yeah, something's upside down, most definite. Something is definitely upside down. We just don't know what it is, though. It could be the construct. I think it's the construct, possibly. I don't know. It's really how would you say? It's like a mind fuck in another sense, right? It's a mind fuck. Yeah, it's a mind fuck. Just be prepared. That's all I can say. Just be prepared. Well, all is back to the moon. You've seen it. Epstein files. Who would have thought that Epstein files ties back into Baal, which is the cow, which also ties back into the moon. All right. Hollywood, Epstein, the moon. It's your moon day for you, ladies and gentlemen. Yeah, man. Salutes. Big shout out to Mayhem. Appreciate that cooking. Going on chat. I'm gonna love you and leave you. The connection sounds terrible in here on the AirPod. Look after yourself. Love overall. Lay low.
Tell me what's fun, watching me try anything just for you to hold on. Got me caught up in your string, come you loose when you're done. Could I said 1,000 things, go ahead and say one. That shit was funny. Tell me what the price been. All I had was time for you as currency, you didn't like that. If you're gonna hold it out for me, then guess what, I'll fucking bite that. You can go ahead and explain why he's saying what he's saying, go ahead. Get the fuck up right now. Get the fuck up right now. Get the fuck Get the fuck out my house, yeah. Get the fuck up right now. No one really liked you anyway much. Get the fuck up right now. Get the fuck out my house, yeah. Get the fuck up right now. I'ma say some shit just to make you hurt. I learned that from you. All those little insecurities that you got, all of them true. Oh, you think that they your friends? You should hear them talk about you. There ain't no fucking depends. There ain't no fucking excuse. There ain't no fucking my lens. There ain't no walking my shoes. Yeah, how can you say that he's lying when I've been staring at proof? How the fuck can you be crying? Thought I was nothing to lose. How can you say that you're dying? You put yourself in the news. Looking back, it was fun. Watching me try anything just for you to hold on. Had me caught up in string, coming loose and I'm gone. You could say those things, I'ma just say one. Wish it was funny. I don't know what the price been. All you got is time for me, is currency, I don't like that. And I made like a lot of money out of shit, yeah, you know I like that. You can go ahead and explain what he's saying, stop, let me write that. Get the fuck up right now. Get the fuck up right now. Get the fuck Get the fuck out my house, yeah. Get the fuck up right now. No one really liked you anyway much. Get the fuck up right now. Get the fuck out my